often, because of the strain on temporary accommodation, it'll be the very same hotels that the Home Office is paying for that local councils then turn to, or bed and breakfast, or in extreme cases, issuing tents to people to go and sleep on the streets. There's no lifestyle choice there.
So, sorry, just let's be very clear about this. So, the Home Office, the government is telling the public that they are removing people from hotels, that the government is no longer spending money on hotels, but then the council is having to use the same hotel to house the same people. Is that more expensive for the council?
Of course, and what that is doing is passing the cost from the government through general taxation to local taxpayers. The only places that councils can look at now is social care. Lots of councils with social care responsibilities are already spending £7 in every 10 on social care. The cost of providing children's social care has gone up by over 15%. The cost of adult social care by a similar number. But also for those councils that don't have social care responsibilities, the cost of housing, homelessness and people in temporary accommodation has gone up by 20%. And all of these things are demand-led services. I'm trying to explain to ministers and civil servants that councils can't simply plan for the increase in demand that we are seeing. And also councils aren't able to plan for the additional costs that many private sector providers are passing on to councils to provide these services. If a child needs a complex social care plan and that costs in the region of £30,000 a week, and that's the cost that the private sector are quoting, that is the cost. And I'm really concerned that for many residents who, on the whole, do not interact with social care services, look at their council and wonder what they're paying for. Council tax has doubled over the last 10 years, yet services that we are discharging to our communities has never been so low and so sparse.
£7 in every 10 on social care is absolutely phenomenal. But you mentioned something else there, which was homelessness. And in the context of immigration, which is set to dominate next week here in Westminster, that, of course, has a knock-on effect for you. How concerned are you at the moment about trying to find homes for those people who have come into the country illegally, have now been allowed to stay and have been housed in hotels up until now, but then become the responsibility of the council?
We'll just take a step back for 1 second. Homelessness and temporary accommodation demands are increasing because of the cost of living situation that we have across the country. More and more people turning to councils for support. We're seeing a mass exodus of people coming in the private sector, private rented sector coming to councils for support. But as you say quite rightly, we're also seeing a huge increase as a result of the applications being processed by the Home Office of people in hotels. And the Home Office is spending £8 million a day housing people in hotels. Around 70% of those in hotels will have their applications processed and their applications granted. At that point, homelessness services and advice falls onto the local authority. And even where applications are refused, we're seeing those people then turn into councils because they're destitute whilst they wait to be removed from the country. It's a huge, huge issue. And then on top of all of that, quite rightly, councils and communities have been stepping up and wanting to support people from Ukraine, from Hong Kong, and from Afghanistan, and unaccompanied asylum-seeking children who come across to this country. My big frustration is that the government aren't seeing this in the round. They're not seeing all the impacts upon their own central policies linked to how that impacts on local government.
Yeah.
There is no...
Sorry, we're a little bit limited on time. Just in terms of the people that you're talking about there specifically, those people who get their applications granted, where are the council housing those people?
Well, often, because of the strain on temporary accommodation, it'll be the very same hotels that the Home Office is paying for that local councils then turn to, or bed and breakfast, or in extreme cases, issuing tents to people to go and sleep on the streets. There's no lifestyle choice there.
So, sorry, just let's be very clear about this. So the Home Office, the government is telling the public that they are removing people from hotels, that the government is no longer spending money on hotels, but then the council is having to use the same hotel to house the same people. Is that more expensive for the council?
Of course, and what that is doing is passing the cost from the government through general taxation to local taxpayers. There's no doubt about it. There's no council in the country that has an empty stock of temporary accommodation. Therefore, we turn to hotels and bed and breakfast provision, and in most extreme cases, tents.